Oh no, I closed BattleNet. Does that break StarCraft? Apparently not. It's best of 5! TVZ in the bottom left. As the green Zerg, she is QB. In top right, as the pink Terran, she is Andromeda. She is a bug as a clan icon. It's a bug. CVT is quite a good matchup. But this might be just simply an issue of too big of an MMR difference. Andromeda, Diamond one, sorry. It's pretty darn good. And certainly there's always a potential to punch above your weight class, you know, your rank in StarCraft 2 and take out people with a good cheese or a good style. Maybe they're weak against mech, or hell, maybe they're even just really weak against Terran, coincidentally. But with QB being Masters 1, bordering on Grandmaster a lot of the time, oof, that's tough. That's a tough one. Especially when you consider how, I mean, she's not Grandmaster now. I think she's at 40, like, around 5,400 MMR. I briefly glimpsed her profile and forgot to keep note, but that's still pretty close to Grandmaster on EU. And EU Grandmaster is, well, it's something a little bit better than NA Grandmaster, so that much. So yeah, this is a tough one to, you know, really hype up, but I really want to see what Andromeda can do. How many builds she'll throw out here. Ryman says that she is mostly comfortable with one build, which could it could build very poorly. In general, you know, we talk about tournament players and MVP kind of being the highlight tournament player. He just was a master of build orders and varying his play style. One of the reasons he was able to win long past his mechanics, you know, being number one, they started to deteriorate, his wrist really started to deteriorate, didn't practice as much, is that he was just so good at playing the damn tournaments. Obviously mentality can be a thing in tournaments, different atmosphere can be a problem in offline tournaments, and then just being predictable can be a problem in any tournaments, as being unpredictable is usually the better way to go if you can actually control it. If you can, it's cool to be unpredictable by doing 7 different Hellbat all-ins, but if you only know how to do 2 and you're guessing the 5 others, well, I don't know, it probably won't look very pretty. So that's the real problem I'm seeing potentially happen if Andromeda's not going to mix things up. But then again, on top of that, just the sheer difference of MMR. Andromeda seems to have, actually, perhaps this is more so than just a TVZ build. She just has one build that she's very confident in. This is the exact same build that we saw from her versus Protoss, where she goes for the reactored Winnow Mines, does a drop, and then goes into, you know, what kind of looks like a 2-on-1, but a little bit later than usual. I don't know how effective this is versus Zerg. Actually, you know what? She might just be doing a regular 2-on-1. I shouldn't get ahead of myself. It's scouted regardless, but like, let's see if she's gonna put on the Winnow Mines or put the Starport on immediately. Don't want to get too far ahead of myself. And she's gonna do a 2-1-1. That's a better build than I think doing the Winnow Mine drop first. All right. All right. Okay. Yeah. So it is just a 2-1-1. Never mind. Still kind of along the same idea though, right? Like a very similar idea to what she did versus the Protoss. So she's very comfortable with this build, and maybe you should expect the 2-1-1 from her for the rest of this series. It's an okay build. It just is kind of easy to scout and to deal with if the Zerg player knows what they're doing anyways. Obviously, Maru does it, and he still gets victories from it, and it kind of came back. Some Terrans had better follow-ups than others, you know, kind of varying up the 2-base follow-ups and 3-base follow-ups, and it became a thing again. But it's really hard to execute properly, I think. And I'm just gonna say it straight up that it's easier to defend against. The execution for defense against this is easier than doing the attack. So you kind of need to be someone like Maru. And it's also just not something that's very surprising, and that's my main like issue, quote unquote, with this, is that I do think that Andromeda's gonna have to do something that's gonna be a little surprising. And a 2-1-1 is kind of the easiest thing, as I said, to scout and to defend against, especially the first 1 or 2 drops. Maybe they surprise you with a follow-up 2-base all-in or something like that, but we can see that's not going to be the case here. 3rd CC is, in fact, scouted. 2 engineering bays. 3rd barracks is now on the way, but I don't think it's going to be anything like Cure's follow-up or something like that. As we can see, that deck took a lot of damage already. QB was entirely... I mean, even over-prepared here. You don't need the Banelings for the first 2 drops, like, really, technically. But it is the very safe way to do it. And now any 2nd or, you know, 3rd drop, or combination of 2nd or 3rd drops is not going to kill her. Wouldn't mind can be a bit of a surprise, but nice little micro there from QB. Who even chases the Terran player off of creep. That's how confident she was. And speaking of creep, none of it really has been cleaned up, so just pushing it out further and further with the queens. Lair now on the way. You can definitely push that off against a 2-1-1. The only thing that you're going to be worried about, really, if you're getting that lair is not an overseer, you know, for banshees or something like that, but rather for the typical hooks. But if you can push that off and you get the 1-1 upgrades instead, then you know, it's okay. And if they're not doing a 2-base follow-up, or 2.5 base follow-up, that kind of is what been becoming more and more normal, is that you do a 2-base follow-up, 3 barracks, then you add on the 3rd CC. That's kind of become more of the standard way almost to follow up a 2-1-1. All of those aren't happening. We're just gonna actually have a typical 3rd with 1-1, which means the Terran player is going to go for their drops. Ideally, they still have 16 Marines, 2 Medivacs. They're going to add on a 3rd drop, maybe Widow Mines, maybe not. And then they're going to wait a little while to really push out. So they're going to have the 3rd saturated. They're going to have their drops kind of ping-ponging around, trying to deny the 4th base and take out queens when possible. And then they're going to build up either their Widow Mine count or their tank count. And then we finally have a push. And this is like, you know, 8-9 minutes, right? That's a substantial time for the Zerg player to know they're not going to be attacked, because they got what is actually a very minimal amount of scouting. And they just run away with the game, which is exactly what's happening. QB is absolutely running away with the game. 80 drones, creep spreads just insane over to the left side. Slow starting to work on the right side. Single drop, never going to do very much. Drops are also going to be much harder to pull off as the creep spread continues to spread. And that is, I mean, I hate to call it so early, but let me be clear here, guys. I would call games this early in pro games. And before anyone's like, it's because you're a bad caster. No, I was right like 9 out of 10 times. Because the 2-1-1 really started to be a bad build. There's a reason that it was the most popular build in the first year of Legacy of the Void with Bjorn, and then wasn't a thing for a year, and then is only now just barely coming back, and it's mostly because of how they follow it up, not necessarily the opener. So you give this like very typical opener and follow up like you did 3 years ago, basically, right? Legacy of the Void's 3 years old. You're gonna have the same effects, where even if Bjorn did the same amount of damage that Andromeda did to I don't know, Buell or someone like that, I'd be like, Bjorn's dead. Bjorn's actually gonna die. I shouldn't call it too soon. I have a very strong suspicion. And then again, adding on the whole who really is the better player thing. You know, it's gonna be really tough. But you never stop trying, right? We don't have any splash coming out here for Andromeda, so I mean the idea for going for like pure bio is that you can get more pure bio than if you went for tanks or Widow Mines. It just really hasn't been very effective from what I've seen. Some Terran players are trying it again, but I think the most popular person to do pure bio versus Zerg was Marine King Prime years and years ago. It's really hard to control, and I don't know, that's actually probably just the worst thing about it. It's really hard to control, but it can sometimes tire out a Zerg, I guess is the best way I'll put it. I think Euthermal was doing this for a little while, just going pure bio, and he would just tire out the Zerg. He just like would keep throwing bodies, and they'd take some inefficient trades versus the Marauders and be a little surprised that it's only bio, and then they'd just eventually teeter out. But I don't think it works that often. A little bit of missed micro, not a lot of Medivacs. The rest of the production is looking okay for Andromeda. She's at the 66 SCVs, working on more starports, barracks, and factories. But not a lot of medevacs, 2 of them being used to try and kill a 5th base, and almost successful. I think she's gonna get it, but doesn't really matter. QB is controlling the map, and while Andromeda is probably doing the best thing she possibly can, which is going super turtle mode, I am worried that she's still not gonna be able to truly turtle. I mean, the tank count is only just now getting up here. Second factory still doesn't have a tech lab, and that 4th base is, I guess, you know, presumably going to be a planetary, and somehow it does manage to build on location. That is a very, very large Zerg force waiting outside and following this Zerg force up. If it detonates, if it dies, if it doesn't actually do as much as it should be, what's following that up is everything, basically, right? Like, you have ultras, you have upgrades, you have a greater spire on mind as well, with the spire coming on the way. And this is all I'm saying all of this while Andromeda is still struggling to get the 2-2. There's the attack that did exactly what it wanted. No splash, not enough units without that splash to actually take on that many banelings. And that will be game as the 4th base is forced to lift off. It does survive. 3rd base as well. A lot of SVs are going down and the army has entirely died. Andromeda not able to have really any momentum in this game. QB was all over it. Rankin Rounds had such exciting games. Yeah, but it was also a very different time period. GG is called. QB takes game number 1. And I would hate to see this trend continue. I really want Andromeda to try and just get out of her comfort zone. Go for that Hellbat push, go for a mech build, just to mix things up, because I said it in the very beginning of the game. 1, the skill difference might just be very, very big. 2, 2-1-1s, especially the 2-1-1 that she was doing that doesn't have a lot of surprising punch to it, is not particularly good anymore. It's a really, really great build if you want to learn. Which I'm sure that's why she's doing it. If you can pick 1 build in every single matchup, then the 2-1-1 probably is your best bet. And if you're the better player, then you'll just be the better player. It'll teach you micro, it'll teach you macro, it'll teach you early aggression, it'll teach you multitasking. It's a great build for that, but it's not a great build for tournament play. Unless you're Maru. Hey, Tira. So game number 2 is going to be on Blue Shift. There's something majestic about an ocean of lings crashing over a base. Yeah, if you're a Zerg player. It is this person's map choice. Down 1, the bottom left, the pink Terran. She is Andromeda. The top right, as the green Zerg, she is QB. She's damn good. No shame whatsoever to losing against QB. I think QB's the real story of QB is her battle against Telia. I think QB might even have better MMR than Telia. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she does. And then, yeah, she still gets beaten by her. And sometimes like 3-0 too, and it's just like, ah! But Telia is one damn good tournament player and a really weird player too. I think also QB versus Kyla might be a really good match. Kyla not playing in many of the tournaments, but when she pops up, she's a very good Masters 1 Terran player. I think her versus QB would be really cool. And she is very willing to mix things up. Generally a mech player from what I've seen, but she is willing to mix things up. Alright, again, I'm concerned that Andromeda might just kind of stick with it. Now, if Andromeda wants to do this thing where she gets this opportunity to play so much probably so much better than her. Trying to avoid saying that she is, but I think we gotta actually just, you know, come to the truth, guys, that maybe Kiwi actually just is probably the better player. And she just wants to learn from this experience and see what it's like tackling someone that is going to deflect you so well. Then more flippin' power to her, right? Like, that is the appropriate way to go ahead and try and learn from this experience. The not appropriate way to do this is to cry, you know, that Zerg's imbalanced and, you know, it's unfair, you know, the seating was bad and casting was terrible, and I was like, you know, which Andromeda's not going to do. She's a really cool person. But my point is, like, that's kind of the tip top of what you can take out of the situation like this. Whereas I guess some other people would just be like, I tried, like, whatever. But if you really use it as a learning experience, it can be really good. I mean, it could also be really, like, you could feel really bad. I've been there. Facing against GMs I know I'm going to lose against, just being like, well, what was I even expecting? But I've also been there when I was like, man, okay, so that's how it's supposed to be defended against. That's why I can beat this MMR, but not that MMR, you know? Now, Andromeda did scout with an SCV to see the early pool and the gas, so that's why she put the command center on the high ground. Not technically a necessity or even incredibly well advised to do so. You really want to try your best to get the natural command center, but I think it's a good choice in her situation. The only real attack that would threaten the natural command center is like the follow-up of Ling with roaches, which could happen with 2 bases, or a complete Ling flood, which could happen. Like, yeah, and those do for sure. But if it's just 6 Lings, if it's just 2 Lings, you know, then the Zerg player is more than happy with delaying the command center in this way. You know, their goal ultimately was to get the SCV and delay the command center that way, but they delay it instead by making you build it on the high grounds and probably making you change your build up, throwing you off. Then that's also damage done. In this case, Andromeda maybe thought it was going to be a bailing bust. She kind of had like a third wall going on here. It wasn't. It was just QB putting on the tiniest little bit of pressure and then really macroing behind it. Any advice on choosing your race? Choose what is most fun to play. I don't know. It really matters on your intentions, you know? Like, if you want to be the best player there ever was, then yeah, you have to choose a race. And if you get more out of StarCraft by thinking you're improving than you are by just playing, then yeah, choose a race. But I don't think you really have to have both of those feelings. Well, not the best player in the world feeling, but to have that feeling of improvement. And you should just pick whatever you think is most fun. Scoreboard's always on the left with the best of as well, for anyone just coming in. So these Lings really haven't done a whole lot. They are waiting for the Hellions to move out, which Andromeda's probably also wary of. It is that stupid mental struggle where you're like, I know that you know that I know that you know, but the Overlord knows the most. And the Terran player is the one that has to kind of guess. So that is a Hellion block, but not a Ling block, funnily enough. And the Lings were a little annoying. They didn't really do a whole lot. Not, you know, 100% worth it, but they got some scouting. They saw the 3rd CC. They saw that it was a barracks if they clicked on it. And QB has that information. Of course, she already knew there was going to be Hellions just by seeing the Hellions, but the Overlord also doing whatever scouting the Lings couldn't, so sees another barracks, right? And sees that there's no tech lab on the starport or something like that, and needs no stag defense, although she did choose to go for at least one. We do have a Liberator in the main. That's the biggest reason, I think, really, to make this cautionary Spore Crawler is not just because Banshees can still be a thing, but it's because they can really help against Liberator harassment, which is almost always a thing nowadays in TPC. So I would even argue that if the best Zerg players in the world probably wait till they get a confirmed no Banshee scout, or just wait for the timing to be gone, and then I think they move it without being prompted, just in anticipation of the Liberator. Tiny things add up, you know? Natural would also be protected if that were going to be the case, and some people do make 2 Liberators at a time. But we don't have a Liberator. We have a Medevac following this up with nothing inside of it. So nothing to talk about there. Third CC is done. 5 barracks production. No, wait. Oh, 6. Oops. Okay, well, technically should be 5, but point is, production's on the way. Same for QB is going for, well, everything as Zerg should. 1-1. Hydralisk Den, Baneling Nest? Question mark? There it is. But no centrifugal hooks quite yet. That will be starting, I gotta assume, as soon as possible. Lang is continuing to be a bother. See the upgrades, which... If there's a third CC like that, you're kind of assuming that it's going to be 2 engineering bays. In fact, the really old school way of doing this, I think the appropriate build, this was 3 years ago, so give me a break if I don't quite remember. But the build for 2-1-1 was to actually go for like double engineering bay, then third CC. Right? But anyways, this wasn't a 2-1-1. It was the factory, so you just go for third CC to try and wall off. Ended up being an awkward wall off, as you can see here. But then yeah, double engineering bays, armory, all given when you see that third CC. And then just waiting for the first 2 medevac drops, which they happen later when you go for a third CC. They happen later when you mess up your build because you're a little paranoid. This isn't even a double medevac drop. It's a single medevac drop full of Hellions, which I like. I like the idea a lot, and it's kind of a weird timing, so they might just do a lot of damage because Hubie will not be expecting it. But it is not the same potency as a double medevac drop followed by 2 more medevac drops followed by a big push. You know, the momentum really has to be gathered here by the Terran in this mid game. They got to start the ball rolling. They got to do the this, that, and ping pong around, and then boom, hit you where it hurts, clean up your creep spread, and suddenly have tanks rolling up to your third base. And if they don't, then the Zerg player really starts to get too much control with that creep spread, gets too much security, gets too many banelings, and gets way too much economy. Toxic trees, yes. I am playing the entire campaign. Illigalak is a really, you can't even look up Illigalak for people that aren't pros, because it's just, it only takes into consideration tournaments they've played in, and obviously their tournaments are going to be way weirder. They're going to be facing people that are 1,000 MMR above them, unlike pros. You'd have to look at our actual ladder report. So now we do have the double drop, but when you, I mean, just as information for y'all out there, when you go for like a third CC, these double medevac drops usually happen around 7:30. So, you know, have them 2 minutes later, and then you're also going to be pushing around, I think, 9 minutes actually. So you consider that she's kind of pushing. It's not with a lot. It's also, again, later. This is just giving QB, someone who is a lot more used to facing Terrans who can pile on that pressure continuously, so much time to prepare. And I said all of those things, right? I said macro, banelings, tech, whatever. It also has to do with preparing their positioning, which is often how they get those really sick, cost-efficient engagements, is that Zerg players get those surrounds, right? Zergs, Banelings end up rolling in, kill 7 SCVs. Drops are cleaned up by a couple of Hydras over here. This attack over to the right side is a very weird attack. There's not as much creep spread over to the very far right side as over here, but then you can't reinforce a position like this, so that's the downside. And honestly, QB could just be like, okay, well, you know, take your time, like, you come to me. And as she waits for the attack to pounce on her creep spread, there you go, she cleans that up. She goes for a bit of a run by, kills 17 SCVs. The drop in the main ends up killing 8 drones, so at least something goes right for our pink Terran, but not much else goes right as her attack is cleaned up, her SCVs are killed. 4th base turned into the orbital, not a planetary. That's a surprise. Not gonna be able to help defend against this, but there aren't any banelings left. Not enough banelings left, and another drop actually hits to the right side. Andromeda starting to find little bits of, you know, holes here and there in QB's play, but not really enough to win the game, to stick it to him, right? 3-3 has started for Zerg ahead of the Terrans 2-2. Never a good sign. Aldrina Glands as well. Certainly an Ultra's Cavern will be on the way. 5th base too. I mean, the creep spread could be pushed even more, I suppose, but like everything is looking good for QB. Drop is seen by the Ling. Fortunately, it's power of the Zanagas. Ultra's Cavern's on the way. Looks like QB's not going to go for the big old Baneling bust like last game, but perhaps wait for the Ultralisks. Maybe seeing that there's tanks already out, thinking that it won't work. Only one, though. It's not really that scary. And if she was really afraid of tanks, she could go for Vipers. +3 attack starts for Andromeda. That drop was just cleaned up so easily because it was seen again by the Zanaga. It's off to the north side. Unfortunately, if there was a base here, there's not a lot of creep spread, but there's no base there. The base is way back here over all that creep spread. And if she started to attack towards the very, very north, she'd have that same problem of not being able to reinforce. And since she's not maxed out, she really would need to reinforce. Sensor tower goes up. I was talking about it last game. I would prefer, I like if Andromeda goes for a bit of a turtle Terran, because that's what you see in a lot of pro games as well. They're, you know, double drop, triple drop, quadruple drop into push, into 2-2 push, into whatever doesn't work, and they go, oh, okay, I guess I'm screwed. I can't do it anymore. And they just go for turtle Terran. We see so much of that lately. We even see Terrans not bother going for any push. They only do the drops. That it's totally fine if that's what you do in your own games. Because I think we all do that thing where we watch pros and we watch the really cool pros like Maru be non-stop aggressive, and people will be like, you gotta keep up the pace, you gotta keep up the momentum versus Zerg, and that is correct until a point. But as you know, as scrubs, you all go like, no, I gotta keep doing this, and then we just kept sending units into their deaths, where you see a lot of smart pros will just be like, oh, okay, just kidding, you come to me now, you come to me. They build planetaries, they get a lot of tanks, they get ghosts, they get liberators. That's what you gotta do after a certain point, after momentum's been lost, really, is what you gotta do. And Andromeda's got the idea of staying back at home. She's not really, I wouldn't call this like a turtle Terran. The drop was unfortunately quite screwed. We need more tanks, we need liberators, we need a fusion core, second starport. This orbital needs to be a planetary over at the 4th. We need a 5th and 6th base already on the way. I mean, hey, Andromeda's getting maxed out, which puts her in a fighting spirit, right? But even though she has a bit of an army supply, it's really not true. As soon as QB gets a decent concave or surrounds, things are going to look really, really silly. Now, this is all off of creep, so this is just simply throwing away Banelings. I don't think QB honestly expected to do very much, but it was like, yeah, I'll take it. And maybe even as a distraction force with this Baneling attack. Oh my god, there's so many Banelings rolling in here. Gonna go right for that orbital, and there's nothing that QB could have done about it. Just simply not enough DPS by the Marauders to help out there. QB now on 6 bases, with the top left being hers, controlling Andromeda's potential 4th or 5th. And here come the Vipers to take care of those tanks, as well as the Liberators, although Liberators looking the wrong way. Andromeda has fallen down in supply to half that of QB. Here come the Ultras through the Liberator zone accidentally, but here it comes to really seal the deal, and 6 more Ultras are on the way. They got 3-3. I assume they got chitinous plating. They do. And while Andromeda might just hold on for a few more seconds, we all know that it's game over. Looks like it's going to be exactly that case. She has another base on the way, so maybe just thinking that, you know, she has a chance to recover, but we take a quick look at Andromeda's map vision. She knows how much creep spread there is. She knows that there's at least 5 bases. And that is GG. QB takes game number 2. Leaving the next game as the last one. Also Andromeda's last map pick. Dreamcatcher shall be potentially the last map. I would love to see a really good tank push here, you know, and actually going back to that 2-1-1 talk, I would love to see a 2-1-1 into a single engineering bay tank follow-up, but I don't know if Andromeda is confident enough with such a build. This is kind of the map where that really looked the best. Yeah, even I try to execute the build and I do it very poorly. Germany is 1 minute. Blah, blah, blah. Gemini and Max for an article on what to expect in PvT next patch. Can anyone really predict it? This is actually a really long article. Okay, I was like reading it and I was like glancing and I was like, okay, it should be like, you know, 2 pages, and I think it was more like 6 pages. Okay. Andromeda's ready to go. The winner of this best of 5 will be getting, well, it's a bit different now with the payouts at the prize pool being so well crowdfunded. Oh, I'm not signed in. I'll figure out the prize in just a second. Let's do the intros first. In the bottom right, up 2 to 0, it is the green Zerg, QB. In top left, with the pink Terran, she is Andromeda. Time to bust out the old calculator. Oh, Jesus, not that much. Oh, lordy. Okay, so if I did this correctly, and it was a very tiny amount of math, so I really hope I did it correctly. Yeah. First gets $153, second gets $57. And then third and fourth got $14 and some cents every which way. So, you know, pretty darn decent for 3 hours of work, just about, for most of these players. I always check my past events. Yep, I did it right. Ha! I'm a genius. Well, I guess I'm technically assuming that my past self did it right, and that I'm always doing it right because of that, but whatever. Yes, the score is now 2-0 in QB's favor. Just simply rolling over Andromeda with some good macro, but also Andromeda, you know, a couple of things here and there. 2-1-1 perhaps not being the best anymore. That was the first game. Second game, getting really startled by seeing that fast pool. Probably thought that a QB was going to go for something cheesy, Baneling Bust, Roach Ravager all in, something like that. And quite simply overreacted, so damage was done just there and then. We do have her staying away from the 2-1-1 in this game with a factory now on the way, waiting for that reactor. Looks like maybe a little this time than the gases. Reaper's going to be scouting for any hidden lings, because we didn't have the SCV? Oh, no, we did. Okay, well, I guess still just scouting for any hidden lings. I was gonna say, I thought I was following an SCV back home. Not gonna find any, and could safely make its way across the map, and it should too, because, well, it's not an early pool with lings coming across the map. It could still be a 2-base bailing bus or some sort. I never said 3rd and 4th got 14 cents. I never said that, because I obviously would know that's not true. I said 0.06. Because that's what you multiply 240 by to get the correct amount. I just shouldn't have said the percent part of it. That is very quick combat shields. I guess just faking stim. I very much assume faking stim. What? Did she mean to start stim? There's really no reason to start combat shields first. In any matchup anymore, honestly. Like, in some very rare scenarios when you're defending against like a TVT 1-base all-in, then I think there could be a argument made for it, but certainly not TVZ. Like, you want stim, you want it as fast as possible. It's a much longer upgrade. At one point in time in Wings of Liberty, it was like 40 seconds slower, or faster, sorry. 20 seconds faster? 20 seconds faster. Something like that, but now it's kind of a slow upgrade, and you want it right off the bat, so this is kind of weird. The only thing you'd ever get combat shields first for, except for that TVT situation I just explained, is a weird, like, all-in, but I don't know, just like how the game works nowadays, like the extra 10 health doesn't help enough for an early game all-in. I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that. Look away, guys, look away. And it's not gonna be an all-in because we have a 3rd CC, so that was just a bit of an odd choice. Hopefully she does recognize that she didn't get stim and presses the T button instead of the C button again. Liberator's gonna come in just before that Liberator, or sorry, Spore Crawler is done, so a couple drones will go down as this Hellion Force is doing quite a good job distracting. 3 drones go down before the Spore Crawler is able to move that Liberator away, but just repositions. Spore Crawler is repositioned faster than they used to. There we go. Also, something that was changed back in Wings of Liberty. Very odd change, too, because back in Wings of Liberty, the problem was more about spine crawlers not rooting fast enough. And Blizzard just came out and was like, hey, Spore Crawlers are going to root faster. And we're like, what? Why? It was back when, like, some Mortal Sentry was really popular. Bobble, I'm not gonna have this session again. We all know that we're both, that you are correct. But that I was just explaining that I never said they got 14 cents, because if I had literally said those words coming out of my mouth, I would have been like, no, that's not correct. You understand, you're just being a difficult little child. I take offense. I was very proud of the math that I had to do. And I was able to do the math appropriately to build the prize pool. She did remember Stim, by the way, but, you know, this is a situation where Stim would be done for this drop. And be a lot more helpful, I think, than the combat shields. I mean, you know, keep the pressure on as long as you're able to. Keep tabs on your opponent. So I like the drop. It just sucks that there's not a second medevac quite yet ready to go with it. We have a lot of medevacs. I guess she maybe overcompensating for the last 2 games where there was a bit of a medevac shortage. I don't think she transferred over the reactor to a barracks like you would normally see. She just went right for constant production. So that gives her a bit of a weird looking, not really doom drop, because that's not even all Marines. Oopsie daisy. That's a lot of Hellions. And while I guess is the armory done? Oh, it's not. So 1-1 is done, but the armory was late, and I was gonna say, even if they were Hellbats, they're not that useful. Doom drops are just really an almost counterintuitive thing to do against Zerg, because it basically puts you on a creep almost always. And Hellbats don't do a particularly good job against Banelings, despite what some people would like to think, or some people tried to do back in Heart of the Swarm. Infestation pit on the way again. QB just able to go through the motions without much distraction. So the 84 drones on those 4 bases again, with creep spread just absolutely dominating. And Dreamcatcher, one of the worst maps, I think, for that feeling of suffocating for the Terran player. It's not one direction or 1.5 directions that is pretty powerful, and 2 scans in a direct line will clean up most of it. No, it's like a billion directions. I will say that for the first 7 minutes or so, it's the Zerg's problem. There's so many different avenues of creep spread and places that are really tricky to cover without creep spread. But past that, you know, it's getting to 10, 11, 12 minutes, late game TVZ, it just becomes, it feels impossible to keep up with the creep spread as a Terran player. So many different paths you have to clean up. So many active creep tumors you have to keep track of. Looks like 4th command center is on the way. Additional barracks. Really, I mean, I feel like she's perfecting the transition into late game as we watch this series unfold. Her supply certainly is, I think, the best we've seen it. Her upgrades were late, and that sucks. QB's going to be going on a 3-3 much faster than Andromeda's 2-2, but no, not the Doom drop. No, don't do it. Don't do it. It puts you on a creep. I never like it. Ever. And as long as a Zerg player can do any amount of splitting, so it's not just like something stupid like you just hop back and forth, oh, it's almost always a bad idea. Spore colors were also made for kind of this reason, although I think it's, yeah, there's not a third one. Spore colors would have only done so much to stop this attack from being dropped. It was all depending on if Andromeda thought it would be worth it or not, which I guess she thought it was. A couple of Hellions got over here and killed some drones, but then a lot of SCVs died to a couple of Banelings there. The army comes back and forces the lift off. The split did not happen. All right, to Andromeda's credit, so she is going to go ahead and hop back down to the 3rd base. More drones are going to go down, evening up the workers' killed count, but QB still at 65 compared to Andromeda's 54. Now, 54 really isn't that bad, considering that we're on 4 orbitals once again. I don't like the 4th orbital. I don't, oh, it's dangerous. It's not the rarest thing I've ever seen, even from, like, pros, but I don't like when they do it either. Looks like a barracks went down. The command center is going to go down very soon as well. Andromeda is entirely focused on this Doom drop in the main base. Could go ahead and target fire the high, but would it really be worth it? QB's army is coming back, and she realized she didn't actually clean everything up. Also, I guess she was really late to Hydra speed, didn't notice it. Only noticed it when she was trying to chase down these damn medevacs. But again, if she can just split a little bit more, then this will not be an issue whatsoever, and she would still have army left over to go for the attack, take it to Andromeda's side of the map. Looks like things are finally going to be cleaned up after, what, like 30-something drones went down. You strictly look at the drone count going down, you might think that was worth it, but we know that it's not. Andromeda also lost her own SCVs, almost lost her 4th base, and lost quite a few units in the process, so now down 30 supply. Also way behind those upgrades, finally starting 3-3, also adding on more command centers trying to use her money, but QB's up to 5 bases, one of them being a gold. This drop is gonna be, I mean, he kills a queen, but can it compare to what this attack's going to do? It's mostly Hydras, but here come the Banelings now. Good target fire on the rocks, gonna split up the army so that QB is going to end up taking an inefficient engagement, but she doesn't really need to do a lot of efficient engagements. As long as she has the economy that she does, she is totally Gucci. Eventually, she'll break down those rocks again and open up that pathway. But a nice little kill there on the building command center. And Andromeda is struggling. For a moment there, she was up to almost 170 supply. But then she decided to go for the ping pong battle on top of the third main. Didn't work. In my eyes, anyways, it didn't work. I guess it was always a bit of a risk. That's why you do it, but... Not only didn't do enough damage itself to QB, it also took away so much APM from Andromeda that's why she lost the SCVs, that's why she was unable to get her fourth base up and running on that fourth. And well, now she finally has one ready to turn to a planetary. Here comes the next attack. Lings are a little far ahead of themselves. End up baiting out the Widow Mine, so I guess that doesn't work out. Generally, you want to have some Lings to try and force the, you know, get this around on the army, force the Banelings to make those connections. Like these guys over here could be doing. There we go. Some Banelings went into the natural, but mostly cleaned up. So much production has gone down. Third CC is going to go ahead and burn down, it looks like, and the Zerg Swarm is a-coming. GG, well played. 3-0 for QB. Very convincing. And will be the first place champion of the tournament, Banshee tournament.